I have to tell your parents for your safety. I will tell them that you have attempted, but I will not tell them why. That is for you to tell them, or for me to help you tell them over several sessions. In the rare situation I've had, in fact it's not so rare, we sometimes have young people who, not necessarily about suicide, but they say that, I want to tell you something, but promise me that you won't tell anybody. And I always tell my junior residents, who sometimes they blindly make the promise to the patient that, okay, I will not tell, that never ever do that. And I find that those patients who tell me, doctor, promise me that you won't tell others, I will tell you something, that they already want to tell you. They're 99% there. So I often tell them that I can't promise you that, and I find in the next 5 minutes they've told me anyway. So it is very important not to blindly get into a promise with the patient that you're not going to breach confidentiality. Now, if there's a situation where confidentiality is going to be breached, like you've tried your best to tell, get this HIV positive husband to tell the wife, after several sessions he still refuses. There are many situations where it is inevitable that you have to breach confidentiality. What is recommended is that you first discuss it with the patient, okay? Give him the opportunity to discuss it with the relevant person himself, and do it in a way that minimizes harm to the patient. I gave you the example of the HIV positive patient we had, who didn't want me to tell the wife how he picked up the infection, which I thought was a reasonable request, and I did it in a way that I felt I didn't have to lie. So you don't have to blindly say everything if it's not going to be relevant. The other practical point is that, which I forgot to mention earlier, is that where you're going to breach confidentiality, in order to protect yourself, you need to record that in the case notes, why you have done what, okay? Because none of us are perfect. We can always make an error in judgment, but if you've acted in good faith, you're protected. So if you've done something that later turns out to be a problem, but you've recorded why you've done that, that should be okay. The huge practical problem nowadays is with computers and ensuring confidentiality. In fact, if you look at a lot of the recent articles in American Journal of Clinical Ethics and Bioethics, you find a lot of the recent articles are to do with how to maintain confidentiality in computers, how to prevent access of insurance agencies to this records. So it's quite a practical problem. So you need to make sure that whether it's case files or computers, you need to be clear as to who is accessing what. And this sounds a bit ridiculous, but it's very true. Do not discuss patients in lifts, public places, coffee rooms, outside educational settings. And I feel that is so important, because a lot of our patients are referred to us by other colleagues, and I think it gives a very bad impression that you're going in a lift and you hear somebody discussing about a patient. So I think that's very, very important not to do that. And avoid gossip about patients. And somebody actually put a little definition about gossip, which is a triangular socio-psychological relationship involving the exchange of tales about others, fostering intimacy, discharging hostility, and attended by a feeling of pleasure. And in fact, I saw a little article in the newspaper, I think it was Asian Age, about 2-3 months ago, which said that men at the workplace gossip much more than women, much against the norm, what people thought was the norm. And they say that actually gossip is a little good for health, in the sense that it relieves tension and makes you feel good. And if there's no harm in it, that's fine. But one thing I've learned, that you should never ever say something about somebody that you don't mind that person hearing, because I've lived in a hostel, and you know what can happen. A said something to B, and it comes out like the Chinese whispers game children's play, that you've said something and it comes out in a totally different dangerous way. Now, the problem about gossip about patients is that, and I suppose it's true with all departments, that sometimes you come across maybe a famous person or a particularly interesting patient, and if you're careful that you don't gossip about it, the reason is that people say that sometimes doctors gossip about patients to relieve their anxiety. They've done something, they want to talk about what happened to make them feel better. That may not be a bad thing. But where gossip is really about saying that, I've dealt with this famous patient, and, making you feel good about yourself, that is dangerous. I think what prevents people sometimes from taking help is the fear of gossip. So I think to ensure confidentiality is central to that. Another practical point is that make ground rules clear before assessing the patient. And this is something we should do all the time, that especially if you're dealing with something sensitive in psychiatry or gynecology or even dermatology for that matter, you have to tell the patient that what you tell me is confidential unless I feel that there is risk to yourself or to somebody else. And as I said, I've never found a situation where a patient did not want to tell me something because I've told them that. And if you're about to break confidentiality, discuss it with the patient. I remember one young girl who was referred by her college counselor, and I saw her over 2-3 sessions. She was having anxiety symptoms, some suicidal ideas, but I never felt that she was actively suicidal. Till one day she came and told me that I nearly jumped out of the balcony yesterday because I was so distressed. And that really worried me because I felt that this was a problem, and she was being very irregular with her antidepressants. Her father had come only once to see me, and I had to tell her that, look, I need to slowly tell your father what you've told me. She said, no, he'll freak out. So I said, if something happens to you, he'll get even more upset. So I said, I'm not going to tell him on day one. I said, you bring him to see me, and after 2-3 sessions, I will tell him. And I had built up a good enough rapport for her to believe me, and when she brought him to see me after 2-3 sessions, I was able to tell him that. He got very upset with her. He nearly got angry with her, which was exactly what she predicted. But at least we were able to deal with that. And to end, what we need to remember is that confidentiality is not an end in itself. Confidentiality is protected to further the success of treatment. Any questions or clarifications?
Now this regarding the HIV positive, there is a network of positive people. Now in almost all the districts have this network. So whenever you get a person tested HIV positive, that person is now referred directly from VCTC to network of positive people, because in most of the districts we don't have ART centers.
Okay.
And this ART is arranged by the network of positive people. Like for Allahabad, Varanasi has the ART center. So these network of positive people, they take the HIV positive persons to Varanasi for the ART. And like in this January, we organized a workshop of on HIV awareness for pilgrims and religious leaders who were attending the Earth Kumbh fair at Allahabad. And we invited some of the members of network of positive people there. And they attended all the 3 days. These people were there with the religious leaders. And from the very first day, religious leaders were asking us, ki, how do HIV positive people look like? As if they have a tail or horns or something. Then I told them that we have some positive people between you, and it is you who have to identify who are they. Then in the last session, then we asked the positive peoples that you come and address these sessions. Then they came and addressed those religious leaders, and they were surprised that they were with them, they were eating with them, they were living with them, and they had no idea that these people are HIV positive.
Yeah, I didn't talk about group confidentiality, but that is something which is a huge problem area, because unfortunately, I mean, what you did was fine, because, and then I'm sure the patients knew what they were doing and they were agreeable to that. But we have the advice is that if you're doing some kind of work in a group, you have to tell all the members of the group that confidentiality is very, very important, and they need to know the ground rules. And unfortunately, you cannot ensure it, because how can you do that? If there are some 10 people in a group, you can't really ensure that. So what they do recommend is that all you can do is tell all the individual people very carefully that it's very important that you don't disclose this to anybody else, because, and sometimes people don't do it then and there, but after 2 years you meet somebody at a wedding function, it can just slip out that, oh, so and so has HIV. So everyone has to be aware that there is no absolute privacy in that. You can't guarantee that. If you're with the patient on a one-to-one, from your side you can guarantee confidentiality. If there are 10 people in a group who are HIV positive, you cannot guarantee that one person is not going to talk about the other. So people in the group have to be okay with that.
Ma'am, this is something related to traditional medicine.
Yeah, tell me.
As you were telling that you are very new, but in fact I am listening to you for the second time.
Okay.
Anyway, this is related to the medicines what we have in Ayurveda. Like we have certain medicines wherein it's labeled like it contains gomutra or cow's urine. You know that certain religious people don't like this.
Okay.
Okay, and there are certain medicines which contain goat flesh, or we call it ajamamsam. it's labeled on the what you call bottles. We take the patient into confidence that okay, we are going to give this to you. Are you ready to take this? Because this is the only thing which will help you most. And the confidentiality comes that when he takes this home, a kind of, you know, that at back home they will be not able to accept that. So what we ask is to remove the label and take it. No, this is a kind of
Practical point.
practical
I
point.
think it's the patient's choice. I mean, ultimately privacy is the patient's choice. And unless there is something in the patient that he is, you know, by virtue of his mental state, he can't take a decision, ultimately it's his choice. You've absolutely rightly given him the information. He decides he wants to take it. If it's his choice, if he doesn't want to inform the family members, that's his choice. So I think that's fine. So, thank you.